Okay, it started in 2000. I say 2011. I was going to court on driving on a suspended license, and I went to court or whatever. Well, I got a ticket. I got pulled over on what's that street? On President Street. I got a ticket for driving without a license, and the police gave me a ticket, a citation. I had to go to court for it, and went to court. And when I went to court, I guess the police ran my name inside the courtroom, and they seen that I had a writ. It's like not paying court fines. So
did you get that taken care of?
Yeah, to get that taken care of. I told the police I had the money in my pocket. I could pay it at the courthouse, but they didn't want to give me no break or nothing. They just wanted to be, I guess whatever. They just wanted to be a-holes, So now I go to the jail, and I'm sitting waiting to go through the process. A lady had my $100 lottery ticket. I had just went to the store the night prior, and I never cashed the lottery ticket. I never had cashed the lottery ticket. I still had it in my pocket. And so the lady see my winning $100 lottery ticket, and she was telling me about the lottery ticket, and we was going back and forth, did I win or not? And we're just playing, we're just having a casual conversation, and we're just talking about the lottery ticket. And then next thing you know, a guy, I felt like a touch on my rear end. So when I got touched on the rear end, I looked back and it was a correction officer, and I told him why he touched me on my butt. He couldn't do nothing but put his hands up like he didn't touch me. I'm like, you don't have to touch me like that and whatsoever. And they put me in handcuffs because I told him he didn't have to touch me in my ass like that. And the lady told him to put me in the back, as in Tiffany Smith, the correction officer, told him to put me back in the cells so I could, relax. Which I wasn't mad. I just told him he didn't have to touch me in my ass like that. And she told him to get me off the floor. So, make a long story short, when I got out of jail, or when I was getting released, I know when I went to my property, getting my property back, I realized that my $100 lottery ticket, the barcode off it was ripped. So I was thinking in my head like, damn, who done ripped my ticket? I really didn't think of it until I started asking what my other belongings were. I came in with some Jordan sandals. I came in with some Jordan shorts. I had a polo t-shirt on. I had polo boxers. I had all that. Jordan socks. They threw everything away. Damn. And they gave me somebody else's clothes, like some pants and somebody else's shoes and another shirt. And I'm like, man, I want my property. And then I was thinking about it when I got downstairs. I told the corporal upstairs, like, look, I need to speak to somebody about this incident before I leave out this jail. So when I went downstairs, as the camera shows, because I got the video afterwards, it shows me come downstairs and we sit down and wait for somebody to come out. So I spoke to the guy, and I was telling him how I was in the jail and I was touched on the side of my butt and I was treated bad, and now my lottery ticket's ripped. I was stripped naked, laughed at, all this stuff like that. And then the correction officer was like, okay. And I was like, you know what? Don't worry. When I get out, I'm gonna call the police on y'all. He put me in cuffs and took me to the back of the jail, which I was placed already, and he slammed me on the mat, told me if I don't say I have all the stuff on the property paper, saying that I had all my belongings, I would have to stay an additional night in jail. And I was already in jail for a long time. I wanted to get out, so I had no reason. I ain't had no choice but to sign it. And there was a camera right there. He took me around the corner to sign the property paper. So that's when I signed the property paper, and he took me back to the camera shows him take me back to the place with me getting released and me, getting out. But as I was getting out, I found out that I had some charges on me, which I didn't even know of indecent exposure. I'm like, oh hell no, they got me, messed up. You know what I'm saying? So as that happened, I ain't had no choice but to say, but to comply with the correction officer, because I was in the custody. They do what they want sometimes. When somebody has the ups on you, you can't really do nothing. Especially when you're in that type of situation. It's like somebody got a gun towards you. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, the property release paper was never signed, as in me saying I had my property at all. That's why he made me sign it, because as the time of the processing, when you do sign the property release paper, or when you sit down, you know, and make phone calls and stuff like that, I got put to the back because I told the correctional officer why he touched me in the ass. So make a long story short, I got out. The very next morning, I went to the jail and called the police from the jail. A sheriff's officer came out and told me that if I don't leave, he was going to trespass me. When I'm the one who called the police on them, and he told me to make a complaint. So I made it. I went to the corrections department, made a complaint with the IA, internal investigation, and it was a officer named Juan Santiago, and he's the one who investigated the case. But he never investigated the case. He never asked the correction officer, did he touch me? He never asked the correction officer, did he tell me to pull up my pants? He never asked the correction officer about my lottery ticket. He never asked the correction officer about nothing. When I say nothing, he didn't do the investigation. He didn't even ask the correction officer about who forced and abused me to sign a property release paper saying I had on my property as I got out of jail. He didn't question nobody. So it was like no investigation.
So at that point, what did you do?
At that point, I went to the sheriff's office too. At the same day I made that complaint, I went to the sheriff's office to report it to an officer named Sergeant Shackelford at the sheriff's office. He refused to let me even make a statement or nothing. He told me he refused. When I went there, they gave me the runaround. I went to the front part. They told me to go to the side part. Then they sent me to the professional standards part. And then when I went to the professional standards part, I went there because I told them, look, I want to press charges for these correction officers making a false report, and I want to press charges for these correction officers touching me inappropriately and ripping my lottery ticket and slamming me and all that inside the jail. All you could do was deny my rights to write any type of statement and go to the corrections department and make a complaint when it was a crime that was committed. In the corrections department, when I asked them, I want to report this, they told me they're not the sheriff's office. If you want to report a crime, you have to go to the sheriff's office. And that's what I did. And they still refused. So it took time after time. It took like at least a year or two for me to even get a statement from the sheriff's office, because they felt like, okay, now we can let him write a statement. After the corrections department did an investigation, never investigated anything. Okay? And that's the first one. That's the first complaint. That's how this originally started. You know, I was having a good life until I went inside the Orange County jail that day, September 21st, I believe, 2011. So now I mean, I'm like fighting charges for indecent exposure now.
And so did you beat these charges?
Yeah, I beat the charges.
Okay, so you eventually beat these charges. How were they beat?
They were beat because the investigation from the complaint of the 2011-2012 was going on. It was ongoing. So those charges were pending. So the correction officer, the investigating correction officer who was doing the investigation, he told me and my dad personally that he was going to go down, not go downtown, but talk to somebody downtown as a state prosecutor, because he knows them. He was telling me and my dad he knows them personally, and that he was going to get my charges dropped because he knew what happened inside the jail was completely false. There was video coverage of everything inside the jail, and there was no exposure done.
Okay, so basically they couldn't prove that you showed yourself, but what they did prove is that you were inappropriately touched, so they dropped the charges.
Exactly.
Okay, so at that point...
But, hold on. When I was going to court for the driving on the suspended license, because they took me to jail the day of when I went there, so I couldn't even see the judge. You understand? And when I went back to court, just so happens I went to court the same day for the driving on the suspended license and for the indecent exposure. I played out to 2 days for the driving with the suspended license inside the Orange County jail. And they detained me at the courthouse, but they had me go to court for the indecent exposure right after it, because I told them I had court right after this right after this, they're like, okay, well, we'll do your plea and we'll take you there in cuffs upstairs. So I was detained, and they took me upstairs, and at this point, I'm going to trial because I've been telling them I didn't do it. I'm not guilty. So we had the jury sworn in, everything. We're getting ready to go to trial for this case. The judge, after he swore the jury in, we're getting ready to go to trial. The judge says, you know what? Dismiss. He dropped my case without one word, not one single piece of evidence that was. Are y'all? Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm going through it with the Orange County Corrections Department because I made another complaint asking them why they didn't question corporal at the end when they had video coverage. What happened to the video coverage that they didn't provide when they subpoenaed Santiago for the video to come to court, which he didn't want to come to court, but he gave the video up. And I was just going through it with him, and I was in court, going to trial after they charged me the second time, and my public defender proved in court I was touched inappropriately with no consent, as in the correction officer was looking around in a gay manner, and seconds later he touched me on my rump, and I turned him back and asked him why. And which the same correction officer denied that he ever touched me, period, which Santiago testified for him. Like Susan Coteen for Chantel, which we're going to get to further as the scenario goes on. So now, the jury see that the corrections department are just straight liars, that they brought me to court on charges that the correction officer touched me in the butt, and that they're trying to lie and say that he didn't, and they're trying to say that I exposed myself when there was no camera footage of it. So long story short, they dropped the charges. They don't have nothing on me. So I'm still going at it with the corrections department because they thought they was slick and they tried to cover up my complaint. So now all of a sudden, 4th of July, I'm with my dad, riding through my old neighborhood of the neighborhood we live in. We live in Pebble Creek, and we riding through our old neighborhood as we live next door now, as the neighborhood next door to Pebble Creek. The police was at my old address. Me and my dad were just riding by, and my dad slowed down. Like, he told me, like, look, Jim, look at the police at our old house. And as we riding by, slowing down, one police looked at me because, you know, the window was down, and he had a flashlight, and he pointed it in my face as the car was driving, and he started chasing after the car. And I told my dad, what the police doing? I told my dad, stop, the police chasing the car. So now, as the police chased the car, my dad stopped. The police just pulled me out the car. He told me I had a warrant for my arrest. He already knew who I was. And he take me to the jail, and I asked him why I'm going to jail, and he told me because for harassing. I said I didn't harass nobody. Well, who said I harassed? They said the corrections department. So I'm like, oh heck no. So as I'm in the jail waiting to get processed, I seen this nurse lady, as you know, because you gotta see the nurse as the process go. And this nurse lady just, I don't know what's up with this nurse lady. She just was just like acting weird. Cause you know before I seen her, I seen a correction officer named Cook, and I'm like, hey, weren't you there that day of when the incident happened back in 11 when the corporate came and told you and you sent them out because all that happiness, you know, all that stuff that happened about this car. He was like, oh, I don't remember nothing. I drink a lot. So I said, okay, whatever. So the nurse lady walked by and she said something like, she said it's all good. Like she said something smart. I can't think of it now because so much stuff had happened. You could just read into it. You know what I'm saying? Cause like it's kind of like put it like a little effect on me after all that happened. Sometimes I don't even remember because it's good to forget. So as the process goes on, the same nurse lady upstairs, she left her post downstairs and went upstairs and told one of the correction officers like, "Hey, that's that MF that I don't like right there." And as we going inside the cell, so as she left, I told the correction officer, "Look, I don't know what's going on, but this nurse lady tripping." You know what I'm saying? Which I put everything in my complaint as I got out the second time. Again, another complaint for some bogus stuff that never happened. So, make a long story short, as I'm in the jail, the correction officer, while I was in the jail, the correction officer told everybody to get out the cell. Now, as I was telling him that I don't know what's going on, but I ain't got time for all that stuff. That's what I was telling the correction officer about the nurse lady. And so he told everybody to get out the cell, left me in the cell by myself. So I'm watching TV in the cell, thinking I'm about to get bonded out. I'm not worried about it. I'm just watching TV. Like 10 minutes later, the same correction officer came back in the cell. I'm thinking he's going to take me back in the cell to go with the other people. Because, these other people getting released inside the jail. They, stay in a certain area of the jail. They're, getting bonded out. This dude put me in cuffs, and I told him where I'm going. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna strip you naked and strip you down, strap you down to the bed." But before he said, he's like, "We're gonna OPZ your ass." I'm like, "OPZ?" But before he said we're gonna strip you naked, he was like, "We're gonna OPZ your ass." And that's when he said we're gonna strip you down naked and strap you down to the bed. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And that's when he said it. Excuse my language, But as in what was going on, he took me downstairs. Just a whole bunch of correction officers waiting on me. They all laughing, saying, "We know who you are, this and that, that and this." And I'm telling the nurse like, "Look, Jay Pagan here trying to strip me naked. I don't know what's going on. Look, man, hey, for real, I ain't crazy. OPZ, I ain't with it." And so he was like, "Okay." They were like, the nurse lady was like, "Calm down." So the nurse lady was like, "What's going on?" I said, "I don't know." And she was like, "Do you feel threatened?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel threatened by them. Look what they're doing. They're trying to strip me naked for no reason." And then she was asking me all these questions. "Do you take medication?" I was like, "Nah." "Have you ever?" I'm like, "Nah." Asking me all these questions and stuff. And then she told the guy, "Look, there ain't nothing wrong with him. Take him back upstairs." So he took me back up. They took me back upstairs. And as we were going upstairs, this T-Tate dude, correction officer, I seen his man. He's like, "Oh, I don't got nothing to do with this. That's all on you." And then Jay Pagan's like, "I don't care." He's like, "Urena will cover my ass." And that's one of the internal affairs officers that was in my investigation with Santiago that was covered up by them, with the Orange County Corrections Department. Why you think Tidwell and all of them ain't there no more? Chief Tidwell, they all gone now. Because they all knew him, plus all the other complaints they had in the jail, plus the more complaints that they got now. So, mine just put the icing on, the cake or whatever, the cherry on top, because now, as I get out of jail, and the first thing I do is call FDLE. "Look, these people put false charges on me again." FDLE tell the judge, and hung up on me. Yeah, I spoke to an FDLE agent named John. He told me to tell the judge, and after all that stuff, come talk to me. That's what he told me straight up. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going through it in the court system for the harassment case with FDLE. But as that going on, I'm getting the discovery. So when I get the discovery, I see the statements, and at the end of all the papers, there's one paper left, and on the back of it attached, there was the email behind one of the statements attached. I guess it wasn't supposed to be on it, but I just was reading it, and and as I was reading it, it explained how this employee at the Orange County Jail named Dennis Warren used Orange County Sheriff statements. The sworn statements where we all use to report a crime and anything happened. You call 911 and the sheriff deputy come, have you write a statement, tell your story, swear the truth, tell the truth, all that good stuff. That's what he did. But without that being done, he did it by himself. You understand? And not only did it by himself, he did it where he knew somebody that worked at the sheriff's office, and he knew him as a friend, and he did him a favor, and he made it seem for him that okay, we just went there and reported it the right way and everything happened the way they said it as the Orange County Corrections Department. Well, you can look at my YouTube, Pedro Cerutti, and you could read the description. You can read all the letters. Both of the letters I wrote to the judge, as in my correspondence, and you search my criminal records, and you look up that bomb threat, that 4469, and you will see that everything with the courthouse, Orange County Corrections Department, Orange County Sheriff's Office, FDLE, U.S. Marshals, FBI, all have done together to keep this quiet, a secret, going on in Orange County, Florida. And it's still going on right now. All this is because of a process and a way a crime was reported, which was completely false by all these agencies. And they all were involved, as in just being involved, just being involved in unlawful acts and harmful acts at the Orange County Jail that's been going on for years with me, and the FBI knows about it, and that's the reason I got charged with a bomb threat, because I discovered the email. You want to know anything else? Because this is all about an email now that I got charged with.
So where are you at right now in the case? You're still going to court for the case?
What,
for the bomb threat?
Yeah, it's still going on.
So it's not actually charged, it's still a pending. You haven't been found guilty of this charge, and it's been going on for how long now? 2 years?
It's been going on for like three going on 4.
3 or 4 years just for this bomb threat?
Yeah.
Just for a bomb threat. And after they stated that their calls weren't recorded and everything.
Yeah, well, but you want to hear about what happened in the 2013 case now, right? Because now I discovered the email. So when I discovered the email is about... So yeah, as I was saying, we got cut off. Technical difficulties. The email is what I discovered in my discovery. And when I discovered this email, I noticed that the Orange County Sheriff's Office lied on the incident report and made it seem that they went down on call when this employee at the Orange County Jail did it on his own with 5 other employees. So when I did all my research, I went back to 2011, 2012 case when I was charged by COs inside the jail, and I seen that they did it the same way. So I came up with, okay, the whole time I've been getting charged false, unlawful, and corrupt by the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Orange County Corrections Department together in retaliation. So when I told the judge about the email, I asked the judge, can you make your own case number, your own offense, and sign it and drop it off at the Orange County Sheriff's Office and have them come pick you up for charges? And the judge told me in my face, yes, which I have on record and on paper. So it's like I'm going through it with him, and I called FDLE as I'm going through it with him for the harassing case. And at the end, when I told the judge that, look, we're getting ready to go to trial, the judge like, you ready for trial? I'm like, yeah. The judge was like, okay, we're calling the jury in. But I said, before you call the jury in, I'm telling you right now, Greg and his staff, Chris and his staff is trying to prosecute me on unauthorized false sworn Orange County Sheriff statements after the judge said that she could make her own case number, her own offense, and sign it like Captain Warren. And she's like, and Chris was like, I look back and I see Chris was like, oh, I'm not doing it no more. And then they asked for a break in the court, and they were talking, and I stepped outside, and they called me back in, and the judge dropped my charges because she didn't want to go forth with the case because the state didn't want to proceed because I put them right in it because they were all involved and they all knew. After the Orange County lawyers were there, for no reason when I'm there for a case with the state attorney's office and me versus me, not Orange County lawyers, which was there trying to take over the whole case, which was real suspect because this is a case going on with the state and me, and they have their lawyers involved in it because it's an email now. So they finally dropped the case, but as they dropped the case, I got charged with a bomb threat because I was calling FDLE Orlando about this incident, and the lady was hanging up the phone on me. She didn't want to let me speak to Danny Banks, which Cindy Bridges from Tallahassee told me to call because when I went to the first when I went to the FBI and told them what the sheriff's office did in the corrections department, they said, "Oh, that's their process." So I went back to the sheriff's office. They told me they can't do that, so they told me to go to FDLE because they're not the ones who press charges on the police. FDLE do. So when I go to FDLE, I show Stephen Brenson, FDLE agent, the statements, and he told me, "Oh, they don't have to be sworn in," and he couldn't say nothing about the statements. So I called J.R. Miller from Tallahassee, which doesn't work in Tallahassee no more, and I told him that, look, I got this email I discovered that shows the sheriff's office falsified incident reports, and he told me to send him the email, and I told him before I send you the email, you might be seeing it on the news. So days or weeks later, I was still trying to get through with them, and they'll give me the runaround telling me to call back FDLE, and Scott McInerney took, I went back down there, well, excuse me, after I got off the phone with J.R. Miller, agent called, Chris Courier called me to come in to press charges. After I told him, before you see the email, you'll be seeing it on the news. He called me like, if I don't believe, the very same day or the next day. It was something like that. And when he told me to come in to press charges, you know, I told him okay. But I told him, but I asked him, I'm like, can I get an apology? He said, for what? I said, for Stephen Brenson lying to me, telling me they don't have to do it. He said he don't know Stephen Brenson. I said, okay. Well, I told him I didn't have a car at the time, and I'll be there when I get some time. So I took like a week or two because, you know, I knew the games they were playing. So, you know, I was already told from Cindy Bridges from Tallahassee to call Danny Banks before I got trespassed, because as I went back there, when Chris Hoyer told me to come in to press charges, and I asked for Chris Hoyer, a whole bunch of agents came out. Chris Hoyer came out with Randolph and some other and OPD officers, and Randolph had a trespass warrant. FDLE agent Randolph had a trespass warrant, and he told me to get up, ask me for my ID, I have my passport. I gave him my passport. He told me, he was like, don't come back here no more. And I'm like, why? He's like, because we don't want to see your face no more. And he said something other stupid with the other guys. And I'm like, okay. Me and my dad walked outside, and we waited for the trespass warrant. But before he trespassed me, I was like, where's Chris at? And Chris was like, I'm Chris. And I'm like, you told me to come in here to press charges. All he did was shoot off to the back. That's what the video shows, him shooting off to the back. He just ran off to the back. When I told him, you told me to come in to press charges, and see the email, he just shot off to the back and ran off trespassing. Then he told me he didn't want to see my face there no more with the other OPD officers. And he wrote the whole trespass warning right there on the desk with me. And he trespassed me on his own. And they made it seem like the OPD officers trespassed me when they never did. It was Randolph. And then I took the trespass, and I went outside. I walked outside with my dad, and yeah, that's what happened. He gave me the trespass, and I walked outside with my dad. And I was so mad, I ripped the trespass warrant, but my dad told me to keep it, so I taped it back together, and I made a complaint against Randolph to Scott McInerney to get the video from Tallahassee, and he said he would get the video, but he's not going to investigate the email. That's what he told me straight up. He's not going to investigate nothing but the video of the trespass. He never did nothing. So I called Cindy Bridges and told him why Scott didn't do it. Scott McInerney didn't do nothing. She told me to call Danny Banks, and that's when I was calling Danny Banks. Chantel Hosier and all the people at FDLE were telling me to call back. And then as I went on vacation, I went to Cuba for like 2-3 days, and I came back on a Monday morning, and all of a sudden I'm calling them to check up on the status of the complaint, and some girl's just hanging up the phone, and I'm asking to speak to Danny Banks. Somebody's just hanging up the phone, but the girl who picked up the phone, the first thing she said is, FDLE Orlando, this line is being recorded. And I'm like, can I speak to Danny Banks? And she was just hanging up the phone, I'm not, and playing games with me. And then next thing you know, a guy got on the phone and said, now we're going to say you made a bomb threat, and we're going to come to your house and get you tonight. And I started laughing because I thought the guy was actually just playing. So after that, I called the U.S. Attorney's Office, which I have phone records of. I called the U.S. Marshals, which I have phone records of. I have phone records of all the calls I made that day, even to FDLE Orlando. I never called 38 times. I called like 8 or 9 times. And they completely lied on me. They said I made a bomb threat. They came to my house. My nephew just got out of school from middle school. My other nephew was just coming home from school from after school program at 4 o'clock. They're all bike riders. They're coming straight home. FDLE agents were at my house. I was upstairs in my room. As I was coming down, like halfway down the steps, I seen the agent come in, told me to put my hands up in the air. He told me to come down the stairs backwards. I came down the stairs backwards. He put me in cuffs. He took me outside the house. My mom was standing outside. My dad was standing outside. I see my nephew outside. I see guns pointing at them. And they had me in cuffs and they took me away. And I see my other nephew coming home from school with my other niece on the bike. And they took me away to the Publix Plaza. As I was at the Publix Plaza, I was in the back of the police car telling the deputy what's going on. He's like, I don't know yet. So when I went to the back of the Publix Plaza, the deputy I seen this badge, it said C. Cook. He said that to the Wolf, the deputy who transported me to Orange County, who said he made contact with me, which he never made contact with me. He was with them as in coming to get me in retaliation of all the things they've been doing, you know, because that's what he said on the police report. He said, we don't have a warrant yet. We have to wait. That's what C. Cook told Wolf, with a lady there. You back on? You back on? Okay. Yeah, we got cut off or whatever again. Well, so yeah, got to the jail. Boom. They put me in protected custody. They didn't want me to be on the phone. So I go to court the next morning. The first thing I tell the judge, I didn't make no bomb threat. I'm already out on bond on this bogus harassing case. Now they're saying I'm making a bomb threat. You know what I'm saying? They done tried everything in their manpower to put me in jail. The judge gave me, thank of glory of God, I got a bond. He gave me a bond. I was already out on bond, he gave me another bond. Boom, I bond out. As I come out the jail the next morning, well, as I was in the jail, they put me in protected custody, and I got released. They like, I was after court or something. It was like how they got released. They just came in my cell, told me to pack my bags. Correctional officer lady would ask me. They see me on the news and whatever, and they know I ain't make no bomb threat. It doesn't sound right. And they just took me straight out the jail. Like I walked like I never been released that way out of jail. I ain't no jail type of person, but how they did it was real crazy. It was like some secret operation type junk. Cause like I don't know, but that's why I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing now, because if I wouldn't did my research and did my investigation, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the State Attorney's Office, State Prosecutors, Public Defenders, whoever whoever they are, would try to make me seem like I was the bad person. And like, I'm not a criminal. I go to school for AC and heating. I got a job. Work at the car wash. I make good money. I'm not a bad person. And they want me to seem like I'm the villain when I'm the good person. And I don't make bomb threats. I'm not crazy. I'm not delusional. I'm none of that. And that's what's been going on the whole time. This case has been going on since 2014, really 2012, 2011, 2012, all the way now. And the whole time, with the state attorney's office and the judges and the public defender's office all been doing together is saying that I need medication, which the judge told me I need medication, which she isn't no doctor, and she can't prescribe nobody no medication, which I never took medication before in my life. I don't qualify for no type of medication. Never have no mental health history. There's no reason for me to even see a psychological evaluation, for even me to see any type of doctor at all. My mama used to be a doctor. My auntie's a doctor. My other auntie's a psychiatrist. My other auntie's a lawyer. Her uncle's a judge. It's like, come on. So it's like, I'm not that type of person. So whatever FDLE Orlando has against me in the state of Florida, in Orange County Sheriff's Office, and Orange County Corrections Department, and the FBI and the U.S. Marshals, all have against me because I have their so-called buddies and friends in a whole heap of trouble, and got them lying on record, and got them lying on statements, and got them lying on paper. I'm not the one. There's a place called Washington, D.C. If you guys have any bones to pick, you guys can go pick it with them. Because them are the people that run the whole nation. They're the people who control everything. You guys... Yeah, so... Yeah, that's pretty much like everything been going on right now. I reported it to the U.S. Attorney's Office. They've been refusing. I've been making complaint after complaint after complaint. I made like 13 complaints with them, all in writing. I mean, even against them, they're trying to just, they're not having everything. They're not having like, as in the process on how everything goes with the U.S. Attorney's Office, how you make a complaint. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not sending all the complaints to certain places. They're throwing away certain complaints. They're keeping it. They're doing all type of stupid things. They're not reporting it right. Like the Orange County Corrections Department, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, State Attorney's Office, everyone. So it's like, what's going on right now is, it's like, I'm not fighting my case. I'm not here trying to tell you like, look, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. No, I'm not here because of that. I'm here because the Orange County Sheriff's Office, FDLE Orlando, U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, State Attorney's Office, Public Defender's Office, all the judges, all the Orange County Corrections Department, they're all together, all together on me in revenge to not say nothing about nothing and to keep this a big secret plan which has been going on for years against me on corruption. So I don't know what's gonna happen next. I could be here one day. I probably won't be here tomorrow. But I know one thing. Before I die, my case is gonna be heard of every single person that I mentioned. And whatever I say, there has to be an answer behind it. There has to be some type of explanation. Not explanation, there has to be, whatever I say goes. So if I ask you, why didn't you question this guy in this case when this guy was a main factor, and why didn't you put him in the complaint, I expect a good reply. Not no, I didn't know, or we didn't think, because we all know what that is. This is one big cover up going on with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, FDLE, Orlando, FDLE, Tallahassee, Orange County Sheriff's Office, Orange County Corrections Department, SECT 4 is going down with all of them, and they're all trying to just keep it a big secret, and they don't want nobody to know, and they don't want to let me know, because they know I don't set it off. Just look me up, Instagram, FDLE line, YouTube, Pedro Cerutti.
So in conclusion, you just really want justice?
Yeah, I want justice, but then again, I want what's rightfully mine, and that's.
And you want these charges dropped?
That's charges gonna get dropped regardless. There's no way I'm doing no time behind nothing fabricated when you already did what you did, and you can't. It's like when you do. It's like when you commit murder and you get caught, and they say you the person who did it. They're not just gonna sit there and say you did it if you didn't do it. So I just want to get what's rightfully mine. Is these people going to jail? I don't care about no money. I don't care about no justice, because in this world there ain't no such thing as justice. There is, but there ain't. But when it comes to them, there ain't.
So you want them prosecuted?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I want.